The Baby Blues advance to the round of 32 in the U.S. Open Cup. The first team unbeaten in their last three. And we've got a special guest, an NYCFC commentator on the Spanish side. We're live. We're going to dig in on NYCFC Views.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene el tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Yes, it is. After I type my note to Shane, look at the notes. Shane is our producer. I'm Glenn Crooks. That's Roberto Abramowitz, and another live NYCFC Views as we were up at training today, so a lot to talk about there. And we've got Ariel Judas, who is Roberto's broadcast partner, as we did with Maddie Lawrence back in February. And we're going to go through both Roberto and then myself. We want to learn a little bit more about your commentators on the New York City FC side. So we'll find out. We're going to dig deep into the life of Ariel Judas. He's the quiet one, Roberto. So I'm looking forward to him exposing some. I don't know. Maybe he's got a dark side or something we don't know about.
I would hope so. Yeah, I want there to be that.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can come up with. But we have to kick off with this NYCFC 2 team. So here you go. David Lee gets a call, I don't know when, saying, hey, your 2 team is playing in the U.S. Open Cup this year. Hey, thanks very much. That came from MLS, that call. And you have to say, and MLS, I will say, that in this case, this has been a little bit of a fun ride, right? I mean, you've got these kids who normally would have just been playing a couple of MLS Next Pro games in front of like 20 people. And it's not like they've got massive crowds yet, and part of it was the weather last night in Hartford. But here they are. They beat Hartford, upset. Hartford's a USL championship team. MLS Next Pro is 3rd division. And the way they did it, it was just really cool, going down in extra time 2-1, coming back to win it 3-2. The youngest player to ever sign a homegrown contract in MLS history, scoring the game-winning goal. I mean, it really, there was a lot of drama. And now we find out, Roberto, they get to host. They're hosting this next game, which I assume is at Belson. I've been trying to find out. No one yet. Yes, Belson, May 8th at 7:30 p.m. This was just texted to me. So Belson Stadium, right. May 8th, 7:30 p.m. New York City will host the Colorado Switchbacks, another USL championship team. So pretty cool, Roberto.
That is awesome. I mean, it really is. I mean, and these kids are taking advantage. This is what you want the U.S. Open Cup to be, right? I mean, obviously, we would prefer for the main team, the A team, to be able to be playing these games. But
yeah, sure. Yep.
They can't because they were told that they were volunteering their MLS Next Pro team. It was like, you're volunteering and you're volunteering and you're volunteering, and that's life. And that's basically the way that worked out. But I was able to go to the Red Bull game at Belson, and that was a lot of fun to see a lot of those players and how that game turned out. And it was a wild game with all sorts of things going on between the rain, the ridiculous goal that was allowed, that put them behind the 8 ball and coming back, and then Tomás Romero stopping a penalty kick as the Red Bulls were looking to tie the game, and JJ Jimenez or JJ Jimenez, however you want to call him, scoring a hat trick, and them winning, the game by a couple of goals. I mean,
yeah, but as wild as that was, Roberto, I don't think it approaches what happened last night. There were 4 red cards. I mean, Chris
three
Trio,
at the end of the game at the same time.
Yeah, well, okay. So yeah, it was wild. There were still 4 red cards, no matter when they came.
Yes.
If it was in the parking lot. 4 red. So
just
it
giving
was
context.
Yeah. But so before we get to some of the real sporting highlights, which there was some impressive stuff that happened. One of the more I thought it was funny, humorous. I mean, these are the kinds of things that broadcasters, when they hear these things, there seems to be this rote thing that you have to say. We apologize for the language that you just heard. There was a live mic, which they must have set up. Well, I did hear. I talked to somebody who stood right next to this Hartford supporter who was screaming things into this field mic most of the game, and most of it about the officiating, and a lot of it F word and every other word you've ever heard of. And it's ringing through the comments. I'm like, so what they did is every now and then they would try to turn down the effects, but then you had like no atmosphere because the people doing the broadcast are in a studio in Fort Lauderdale. So they're not at the game. So these effects are off the camera or to the right of the. I don't know exactly where they were, but
somebody had to set it up, though. There's somebody there at the stadium who had to set this up.
I know.
I mean, it didn't just appear.
No,
somebody could just go and move a microphone.
The best moment was when it was the same person shouting into the microphone the whole game, and at one point he said, "I know this microphone is on," and he said something to the effect, "I don't normally curse, but this officiating is so dreadful," or however he put it, I'm paraphrasing, "that I'm letting loose." And these guys are trying to call the game. Oh, it was, well.
And they're hearing it as well, by the way. That's ringing in their headsets.
Well,
all the way down in Fort Lauderdale.
If I were them, I would have had a little more fun with it. But, they were in a tough spot, the two commentators there. But anyway, so Maximo Carrizo, who's now 16, he signed when he was 14, has come through with this game-winning goal, which was just so well struck, rebound. He started the play with this massively accurate diagonal service across the field. Jimenez, who you mentioned earlier, brings it down nicely. He's the one that puts the ball across that the keeper's got to save or parry. It goes into the path of Carrizo. And then Taylor Calhera is the other player you have to mention, the striker who had 2 goals. Including the one that tied it in extra time. So after they went down 2-1. So it was fun.
It looked like it was a blast of a game. And, unfortunately, the only highlight I was able to see of Carrizo's goal basically starts with like the shot, the save, and then the rebound shot. But I mean, John Rojas and yourself had described it on social media, what a great play that was, from the whole buildup and all that. And this is what having an MLS Next Pro team gives you, right? An opportunity for kids like Carrizo, like Calera, like Jimenez, and everybody else who's playing, on this team and all these teams, right? To be able to get an opportunity to be able to play real games against real opponents and not just practice. And now they're playing above their weight, right? They're playing a team that is a couple of divisions above them, and on the road, and they were able to handle it. I mean, this is just fantastic. And as it turns out, and I think you had pointed it out earlier when we were speaking, this is the only MLS Next Pro team that is still alive in the tournament. So, what is it? They're 3-0 so far? Is that it? They're 3-0, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the main team has never been 3-0 in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, they beat FC Motown. I was at that one. Then you were at the next one, the Red Bulls, and then now it's another USL Championship team. It could have been RSL. Now, how cool would that have been to bring RSL to Belson Stadium, and play, And hey, I hope they pack the house, man. I hope it's a nice night. The weather's going to play a role.
Well, the Crew doesn't play like their two team doesn't play at Lower.com Field. They play at the old Crew Stadium. They're playing there. They replace the natural grass with turf, and they use it for practicing, and so they use there.
Okay, I don't understand your point. I'm saying I think it would have been fun to have RSL come into Belson and play it there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
But I mean, I don't think they were going to go play it at America First Field. if they had played in in Sandy, Utah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. All right, look. What else do we want to say about this group? Calera, I just wanted to say they had a day off today, so we didn't get a chance to talk to Pilkington or who's the coach or Calera, who you'd have to, I would say it was the MVP of this game. But I look during the course of the game, I was like, I don't really know who this kid is. So he's out of UMBC, which is a very good, strong Division I men's soccer program in Baltimore, and that's the area he's from. But his father's like a legendary figure in indoor soccer. Baltimore Blast scored over 100 goals in his 8 seasons there. So that's that's pretty good stuff.
Yes, yes, it is. So
and as Brazilian, and so Calera did some time in Brazil in terms of playing on teams there. And if you look, I want you to go back and look at his first goal, which and Jimenez does a nutmeg. This is all in the penalty area, in like kind of a tight area. Jimenez does a nutmeg on the right side in the penalty box. Then he pushes a pass to Calera, who does a Cruyff to seal off the defender, and then with his left foot he finishes. I mean, it was really a fantastic goal. Fantastic goal.
There's a lot of talent down there. I mean, look what New York City's been able to do with some of their academy players. I mean, we already saw that James Sands went to Europe, but you saw, Joe Scally is doing very well in the Bundesliga, and now, fighting for a starting spot on the U.S. national team. You saw what they did with somebody like Tati Castellanos, who they brought in from South America, developed him here, sent him to Spain, and now he's in Italy. So, he's played the last 2 seasons in 2 of the best leagues in the entire world and done very, very well there. So, this is what you want. This is the model. This is part of what having an MLS team is all about. The fact that there's 2 slightly different things, but it's developing young players, either coming out of your academy or buying them, finding, all these diamonds in the rough in South America or Europe or Africa or Asia or wherever they are, and then being able to develop them and then sell them to the top leagues in the world. Because New York City is a feeder team. New York City, like every other team in MLS, is a feeder league, and every league in the world, except for maybe 4 or 5 teams in the top leagues in the world, they're all feeder teams, every one of them. Because if you're Leeds, okay, or you're even Aston Villa, right, and Manchester City wants your player, they're getting them. Barcelona wants your player, they're getting them. And that's the way that is. You're a feeder team. Everybody's a feeder team. And so this is what you want to do. It's a business model. And if you do it right, you're going to get rich.
And I think it was a good point, too, that you made about a place for these guys to play, like a Carrizo. I always think of Justin Hack, the players before there was a reserve team for New York City FC. I mean, we would ask that question, pretty frequently in the early years. It's like, well, what do you do with this guy? How do you get him minutes? And so that's now available. I want to.
And funny thing is, Glenn, that you mentioned Justin Hack. The way they got him minutes was loaning him to Hartford Athletic.
Yep, that's right. And his first professional goal was a header off a corner. I think in his first game for Hartford. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Adam Hayes and Justin Blosser, the Post 90 podcast, NYCFC. They sent a lot of video and pics. I think the City Boys were also there. They sent videos. So you had they were part of that supporters group. It was a small, lively crowd up there in Hartford, but making the trip up there to see the game it rained almost the whole game except for maybe the second extra session in overtime. So, kudos to everybody that went
for them. Absolutely.
Oh no, it's great. And
New York has got some real diehards. I mean, they really, really do. And New York supporters travel very, very well. We've seen that.
Yeah.
And they're great.
It's nice when they get rewarded, and that was definitely a reward to be at that one. And New York City FC 2, part of the clean sweep of New England over the weekend. They beat the Revs 6-2 in MLS Next Pro, and I always think of Richie. What happened to Richie Williams? He's the head coach of the MLS Next Pro team for the New England Revolution. All right, so the senior team, the first team, 2-0 over the Revolution. So here was the game-winning goal, as you heard it on the New York City FC Network.
Now it's O'Toole again on the left. One-on-one. He's in a situation where he can get a crossing ball in to Wolf. Settles, shoot. It's blocked by Rooney. Here's the follow and a goal! New York City opens the scoring, and it's Agustin Ojeda, the 19-year-old, making his first start in a New York City FC uniform. He latches onto the rebound and drives it home with the right peg.
Yeah, and I love having my own words rammed down my throat. Lack of ideas, Ojeda replies with pace and precision. It's a terrific strike from Ojeda. It's fortuitous that the ball breaks to him on the top of the 18-yard box, but who cares? Because he puts the laces through the back of the ball here, and he smashes this one home. He really does, Ojeda. It doesn't get struck any truer than that. Credit Kevin O'Toole, because he gets half a yard of space. He gets past Lima, clips it into Hannes Wolf. Hannes Wolf doesn't really take the greatest of first touches. It's a good block by Romney, but the block falls to Ojeda, and what a finish, Glenn. What of true majesty it really was.
Yes, of true majesty, I think well described. And that's Matty Lawrence, my broadcast partner. Roberto's broadcast partner, Ariel Judas, is standing by, and we're going to get to him in a few minutes in our Kicking It Around segment.
What I liked about the goal, okay, obviously everything that Matty describes is spot on. And you're a very lucky guy to have somebody like Matty Lawrence, by the way. So thank your lucky stars. And I just like that Ojeda didn't even think about this. The ball dropped to him, and he just whacked it. And he whacked it really, really well. And thankfully, he hit it true with the laces, and the ball didn't go sailing over the bar, which has been part of the problem in New York City, that they've had opportunities and clear opportunities, and they haven't been able to put a lot of them on frame. Well, this was on frame. And boy, was this on frame. It was a bullet, and he was never getting to that ball.
Big weekend for Argentina, right? So he hits that clean and under the bar like Carrizo did. American Argentinian, but he's Argentinian, right? Would I call him? He was born in America, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
the U.S. national team, Argentina, both.
Right, he's been on both.
He's played for both.
He's been on both. Well, let's. I spoke with Nick Cushing today, part of the pregame show, 7:15, coming up on the New York City Network on Saturday ahead of the next match. So I asked him about Ojeda, and I asked him if he, is he getting another start? But I don't think he really answered it. That part of he didn't answer that part of the question. But here we go. Here's Nick today on Ojeda. Was it a great goal? It's the game winner, but it seemed like he was pretty busy throughout the match.
Yeah, I mean, Agu has shown, there's a reason why we wanted to bring him here. He can go down the left, he can go down the right, he can come inside on the right foot. He's comfortable going down the outside on the left and crossing off the left foot. He's dominant right foot, but a real versatile winger who is, I think the boys naturally have a preference, whether it be Julian Fernandez playing off the right to come inside on the left foot, or Andres Jason that likes to go down the outside of the right because he can, he can come both. I spoke to Agu, and he basically said to me, I play either. And I think that's a real asset to have. Because,
that's a good answer.
Yeah, because I think ultimately, even if he says that answer, you have to show that. And in training, he's played on both sides. He's played off the right. He's played off the left. I think a guy with real speed, real short speed, but also wins the races in the long moments. So I actually think he's going to be a really exciting player for New York City.
New York City, Glenn, got a little lucky. Okay, because Ojeda was supposed to be off the field. I mean, they were waiting. Julian Fernandez was on the sideline waiting for his chance to come in. And I think there was a corner kick first and decided not to make the changes there. And then after all of that, the ball recycles out, etc. And they come in, and then that opportunity comes. But, it's one of those things, right? Sometimes you need luck to favor you. And he wound up staying on the field, and he winds up getting that opportunity. So he played 63 minutes. Let's see. He created 2 chances. He created 1 big chance. He had 2 shots on target and 1 of them off target. 1 out of 2 successful dribbles. He won 4 out of 8 ground duels, was fouled twice, and committed 3 fouls. It was a very good, aside from the stats, just by the, just by the eye test, he
Yeah.
had a very good, solid, strong game.
Yeah, and you never know how it's going to go. Alonso Martinez scored a goal. He was rewarded with a start. I think Ojeda had a more overall complete game than Martinez did in that one. And even though he scored, so I think I think fans are going to get a chance to see Ojeda again. But we'll see how it's all set up. A lot of times after a win like that, which Nick, there's some clips on the New York City FC digital Twitter X. His post-game comments to the team were like it was the most complete game of the season. So I know you prepare for opponents, but why make a change? If it's your most complete game, right?
I agree. I agree.
All right.
So we'll see. Now they face DC United.
Yeah.
Right. And DC United isn't the DC United we all know, because they have a new coach. And I asked Nick about it during the game, during today's press conference. Sorry. And the fact is that with Troy Lescen there, DC United has, changed their style of play, and they resemble a little bit more, how the Red Bulls played under Troy Lescen. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup come Saturday night in Citi Field. And, and it's going to be interesting to see how New York City approaches a game and the tactics that they use to approach the game, because, it's going to be something pretty similar to the way they're going to want to play the Red Bulls when they finally get that opportunity later on. So it's going to be an interesting game. Of course, DC United, I don't think is as strong as the Red Bulls. Talent-wise, they do have Christian Benteke, who's a freaking handful. And he's scoring a ton of goals. So one of the things that you always talk about, Glenn, preventing service. And that is going to be key. And so two of the guys that you're going to have to look at for New York City are the outside backs, Kevin O'Toole and Mitja Ilinic, who we presume both will start, but it could be Tavon Gray, right? We don't know that. But their main assignment is going to be prevent service, because Benteke is a handful to handle in that penalty box, and you can't give him opportunities.
They're coming off a 3-2 loss to Orlando when they had a 2-1 lead, and both goals, one was scored by Benteke with his head, the other was set up when he nodded a header across the 6, and it was scored. And it was just balls that they just stand him up at the back post. Like, no one can deal with him. I mean, the guy is so powerful. He's tall. His timing, he's always been great in the air. And yes, he has scored 6 of the 12 goals for DC United. So he is the guy for them. They've got 1 win in their last 7 matches. Now, there have been many draws. In fact, they haven't lost a game on the road yet, Roberto. All tie. They've got 4 ties, all on the road. So here they come into Citi Field to see if they can extend their own unbeaten run on the road. But again, 1 win in their last 7. So kind of in that New York City realm, they're not getting maximum points.
No.
And not having seen them every week, it's hard to really classify that. New York City has 2 wins, both of them wearing their black kits. So what I would do, Roberto, just to be who I am, I'd wear the orange Volt kits. Just put on the Volt kits, because
they can't anymore. They're dead. They're retired.
What do you mean they're retired?
They're retired.
No,
their secondary kit is the black one. The Volt kits are gone.
You could they could still wear them.
I don't think so. I think it's done.
You think they're not allowed to wear them?
They're done. Yeah, because they got to sell the black ones. They're not going to use the Volt kits. So look, if they got their 2 wins in the black ones, you put them back in the black ones. What are you talking about?
All right. Malachi.
Okay, so here's another thing that I think we got to be concerned about. Okay, as far as New York City is concerned. Now, we know that they've worked defensively on set pieces. They still allowed goals on set pieces, but they've gotten better at it. But DC United is pretty damn decent. They've already have 2 set piece goals and a penalty goal. So again, it's not only negating service, you have to do it in a way where you're not committing fouls and allowing free kicks near the box. That's the assignment defensively. Let's see how they do.
100%. Thiago Martins, just for the record, was he won 3 of his 3 aerial duels against the New England Revolution. I wanted to bring up Malachi Jones, who and expected goals. I think you saw this in my notes, because this is this is where I don't get it. Now, Malachi Jones, the ball was squared by Keaton Parks to Malachi to make it 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
and he completely flubbed it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was basically put it on the ground a little bit right or left of the keeper, kind of firm, and now it's 2-0. And credit to Malachi Jones, he didn't belabor the point. He popped up and went and, got into defensive shape. Good for him on that. His expected goals were 0.45, Roberto. Now, that was his only shot. Now, if he had, I don't know, if there were other shots and then you were he had one shot, which he should have made, I'm going to say 8 out of 10 times. Right? I'll give him 2 misses. But 8, so that's a 0.80 expected goals in my Crooks calculation. What is this? How could it be 0.45?
Don't ask me to explain it. I have no idea. I never really went into that. I'll leave that to the people who deal with that sort of information on a daily basis. I look at games differently than that.
Give us an extra. But the elusive second goal was scored, Roberto, by Julian Fernandez. And I thought it important to bring up to Nick because I don't know what when you're at the stadium, man, you can see things that otherwise might not be covered by the television area. But the eruption and the emotion and the relief, all this combined. So I asked Nick about that today when that second goal was scored in stoppage time. Get inside your head and what you felt when Julian Fernandez scored the elusive second goal, let's call it, because we've talked, I don't know how often we've talked about getting that second goal or third goal to seal the win. And you got it. So that must have been a moment. I mean, we were trying to look at the bench of the play. It just seemed like there was an elevated level of excitement.
Yeah, I think we showed that moment to the team because I think we all are aware and all understand the nature of MLS, and the second goal is an important goal. And there's also been moments where you get the second goal and you concede the third, and it's 2-1, and so it doesn't exactly give you. It doesn't give you the points, but it gives you a real breathing space, and there's a real mentality piece to it. There's an understanding that 2 goals gives you control in the game and makes the opposition chasing. I don't necessarily think it is about getting the second goal. I think it's about when you have a lot of chances, converting the second goal chance, really, that because in that moment,
whether it's the 6th minute or the 3rd minute of stoppage time.
Yeah, of course. And I think the moment that we showed to the team was, if you look on the wide angle when the ball goes in, James Sands' reaction was actually a great reaction for the team, because he falls on the floor. Almost you can see the relief, the feeling that we all get. You can see in his actions. He falls on his knees and then falls on the floor, rolls on his back. So one that the team was, amused the team. But, I think it is.
And it's okay to feel that emotion for yourself, your staff, and everyone, considering, how close it's been.
Yeah, I think, I think it's the natural emotion to feel, because, if you're not having goal chances and you score it, it feels like relief. I don't think that moment is relief. It's more like it's about time, right? We have so many chances, and it is not any individual. The chances are being spread across the team, from set play chances to across the front line to shots from outside the box. We only watched Columbus versus DC today to scout DC, and we see Aidan Morris smash one from 35 yards, and then we went through all of our long shots. So is this part of the game, right? We were happy that the second goal goes in, but you're totally right. That second goal needs to go in on the 20th, 25th, 30th, 35th minute when you're so dominant like we were.
That's right. You sleep easier too. You rest easier too when
that
second goal is scored. But did you saw the emotion of it happened? What a great Sands story. I didn't see that. I didn't see Sands collapse and fall back on his back and kind of just like, holy smokes, we did it.
I didn't see it either. I missed Sands. I was watching, different things on the field and in the stands and everything. And I think that the thing that impacted me the most about the goal was relief. That all of a sudden 20,744 people plus everybody on the field and in the press box that, follows New York City was able to exhale. Because, it's always this, especially in the last 2 years, in the last season and in this season, it's always this, oh my God, backs against the wall. There's been no relief. Everything is like, you can't make a mistake. And we always talk about how, the margin of error for defense is so small because of the fact that they don't score, as many goals as they probably should based on the amount of opportunities that they have. But now, at least for the rest of that stoppage time, because it was scored in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, now they could relax a little bit. They could exhale, and they could feel that they've got this one in the bag. I mean, you sort of wish it would have happened 5 to 10 minutes earlier, and they could have had that feeling then, but it happened when it did, and you felt that feeling. And that is such a sensational goal by Julian, because of the way that he approaches the ball. He sees where the goalie is. He hits it. He doesn't hit it as hard as he could. He just hits it with a proper pace, and he places it exactly where he wanted to place it. With the ball making a curve on the outside, so it misses a goalie and it goes in next to the post. That's just such a great goal. And it makes you think, wow, this kid's got some skills, and Ojeda's got some skills, and it makes you feel, pretty positive about some of the things going forward with this team as they approach the game on Saturday against DC United.
Yeah, well, when you start a shot outside of the post and it curls in, that is skill. That is superior skill. And new rules coming in. We won't get too much into this. I did talk to Nick about it, but if you want to hear his thoughts, because he's not particularly fond of the off-field treatment rule, which is if a player goes down and they're down for 15 seconds or more, Roberto, they have to be taken off the field. The trainer has to be summoned out, take off the field, and then can't come back on for 2 minutes. So they've used this in MLS Next Pro, and it worked to a certain effect in terms of time wasting. And these things are all, they don't want folks time wasting. But Nick, I like the old Nick is the 2nd youngest coach in MLS, but he's old school. And he's like, and I said, does this take away the romance of the game? Because I could tell he's not particularly fond of this rule. He goes, yeah, well, this is what we love about the game. Some weekends, we're the ones that are trying to stretch the game a little bit. Other weekends, it's happening against you, and then you get angry. And he goes, it's all part of the game. And the fact that they're, adding on to, we know that, the baseball put a pitch clock in because people couldn't handle the fact that baseball games 3 hours long. And a lot of people are annoyed by the fact that people fake injuries or extend their injuries. And,
I think there's a little difference, though, Glenn. I mean, in baseball, the length of games is a huge problem. In soccer, it's basically fixed. The amount of, time you have, depending on stoppage time, it's another 5-10 minutes, depending what happens. But this, more than anything else, is the gamemanship that they're trying to stop. And, it's gotten, in many ways, it's gotten out of hand, not just in this league, but all over the world. And you see guys who, at the end of the games get touched, go down, they feel like they got shot. Yeah. You got guys, who, fake cramps and things like that. So now you have to take into consideration that, are you going to hurt your team by doing this or not? And if you really are hurt, well, you're going to have to go off the field.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I want to see the game get on. Either way, I want to see the game go.
Hey, you've got a guy that you're paying. How much are the referees making per game now? So you've got a guy you're paying, right? If a guy goes down and he's down for 5 seconds, you lean over, you're going to be able to get up. Oh, not right now. Get the training staff out, bring him off the field, and I guarantee you he'll be by the 4th official in 5 seconds, and then he'll be summoned back on the field. You don't need a rule.
I don't disagree, but you do need a rule because nobody's enforcing it.
You need a referee to manage the game.
No, but they're not. But Glenn, where do you see that enforced to the way that you want to see it enforced? Where?
Who cares whether it is or not? It's up. The referee has the power to say, bring the training staff on and get off the field. They can do it. And if the guy has if there's some sort of head injury, you've got to make that determination. But there's so many rules are added to this sport and other sports because referees are, it's taking away another responsibility that the referee should be able to handle if they have a
field. Your friends aren't going to talk to you anymore.
What?
I'm just letting you know, all your friends with whistles aren't going to talk to you anymore.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I bet you most of them feel the same way. I bet
No,
most of
no. They don't feel the same way because they would apply it on the field. Don't say that. That's not true. They don't feel the same way because if they did, they'd apply it on the field. I've always been an advocate for that, by the way, and I've been an advocate for.
Oh, now you're on. Now you're on
I've
the
been an
side of.
advocate saying
Now you're on
every
the
minute
side of
you're down,
romance.
I'm adding 3.
Rookie.
I've been an advocate for that, but it hasn't worked out. So now there's another rule, and I think it's going to speed up games. It's going to make it better, and the gamemanship will be slightly curtailed.
All right.
Let's see how curtailed.
They obviously they liked it in MLS Next Pro, or they wouldn't transfer it to the top league. Time substitution rule. So Roberto, you get subbed if you want to just stroll off. That's great. And it takes 20.
Congratulate the referee for a great job. Put your socks down. Check out your tattoos. Make sure they're still all in place.
You get over there. You get over there in 11 seconds, and you know what? The guy coming on for you, he's got to wait a full minute before he can come on because of this now 10-second rule. And that's the other thing. You have to have somebody timing this stuff. I'm telling you, I personally
fourth official is going to be busy.
And then I think the one that's kind of interesting, and this will be nice for the technical staffs too, I guess, is that the VAR decisions, I guess it's just the decisions. Yes, they're going to be explained and announced by the referee. So there's no more mystery. It's like even if there's something up on the scoreboard that says reviewed for offside, it's going to be completely explained. I hope it's explained in detail, like who's offside. Whatever, that it's not just a real tertiary explanation.
So now in Mexico, they've been doing this, right? And the explanations are sort of short. And basically, it's like after VAR review, we have determined that number 17, Chicharito Hernandez, gets a red card, and that's it. And then they show him a red card, and then he's out of the game. And that's how they've been doing it in Mexico. I'm sort of expecting something similar here, although would I like a better explanation? Absolutely. I want to know why, if something was offside or wasn't offside.
Yeah, because sometimes
to give better explanation. Although if they're trying to make things happen quickly, then, they're not going to go into detail. It's going to be very similar to the NFL, as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. Just a couple other things before we get to kicking it around. And Ariel, there's going to be a celebration. So you want to get to your seats a little earlier, I think. It would be advisable at Citi Field on Saturday because there is going to be a celebration. And we're going to see, we've got Mayor Adams and Francisco Moya will be there. And they were hugging recently at City Hall because it was one step away from this soccer-specific stadium at Willets Point to be official. And that's a signature by Eric Adams, which apparently is going to happen in a ceremony at about 6:45 or so on the grounds of Citi Field pregame. So that'll be the real no shovels in the ground yet, but that'll be the moment that is okay. Enough of the hug, and.
I was thinking, Glenn, 6:45, he signs a proclamation, 7 o'clock, we're across the street and across the way of Seaver Way, and go there and watch them put take the first shovels of dirt out.
I haven't gotten a
big
specific
mess because it might be contaminated. Who knows?
Well, they're going to do a big thing on that too. The only thing I've heard is it's probably going to be towards the end of the month when they do this first shovel in the ground. And
it's going to be that soon because I had heard that it wasn't going to start for later. But that's great.
Well, maybe if we both heard things that aren't official, then who knows who's correct. But we hear things, Roberto. We talk to people and hear things.
Yeah, sometimes in a very surprising fashion.
Portsmouth won promotion, so into the championship over in England. Now, one of the reasons that's it's not that important to those who are viewing, except many of you know Andrew Barnard, and here he is celebrating. And Andrew is he's the guy that he's got the UK Twitter handle, UK New York City FC Twitter handle, and he comes back to this area once a year to catch a couple of games. And there he is at Fratton Park, which is a very, very cool spot for a stadium right in the middle of town, and Oceanside community. And it's I just thought I'd share this with for Barney, because he's such a supporter of New York City FC, follows everything we do, Roberto.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to connect with him, and he shared that photo with me. So
that's
big moment.
Awesome.
Pompey.
Well, hopefully he'll be here when they have the ceremony of shovels into the ground, and we can start seeing that stadium being built across the street from Citi Field.
Yeah, that would be cool if he made it in for that. All right, Roberto, let's go kicking it around, shall we? Now, before we get to Ariel, all right?
God, we're going to have the guy holding for another 10 minutes.
It's okay. I'm sure he's enjoyed the show. So,
well.
Ariel, I hope, I don't know if he's in his office or he's home. I guess he's probably in the office still. But we'll get to him in the office. But he'll enjoy this. And Ariel works for MLS Espanol, so I hope he's not offended by this. I think he'll enjoy it more than being offended. So MLS has this thing. They have this thing that they put in their, in their email blast called pitch side. I think it's called pitch side. And so on March 19th, part of their pitch side script, this is one of their areas of where they call it around the grounds. This is part of their email, in this email system that goes out to everybody who support, whoever's on their email list, around the grounds. Well, interestingly enough, 2 weeks later, they changed the name of this particular section of the email blast to this. Well, where did they get that, I wonder? Kicking it around. So, Roberto, I know I shared this with you, and then I went back and researched. They didn't call it kicking it around until very recently. And so we're going to be kind. There'll be I'm not going to, hire Jeff Kessler and get to the bottom of this.
I have lawyers on speed dial, if you'd like, for the type of life that I live. I have lawyers on speed dial.
Well, if we're going to be copied, that's fine. And, I support their efforts to, and there's also a lot of great information on their web and through all their articles and things.
Yes,
we both read.
We like them. We're friendly. We're good. We support.
So we're having a little fun here. But if you did copy us, we'll take a little credit. No, we don't want any credit. All we want is free passes to something. How about a little? They used to send. I think the gifts MLS used to send us at the beginning of the year were they were. I just remember getting some really cool stuff along the way.
Yeah.
And then this year we got like I don't know what it was. It was like a little plaque or something that I'm never going to even put out.
I don't remember getting anything. Maybe I did.
Oh, maybe we didn't get it. Maybe we didn't get it.
I don't think I got anything this year.
All right, maybe we didn't get anything. All right. Well, I've got a mug to give you, Roberto. Then you're going to share it.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let's get our friend on here. Where is he? Ariel, where are you?
There we go.
Hey guys, how are you?
I hope you've enjoyed the show, Ariel.
I did.
Well,
I know that he's a loyal viewer, by the way.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Because he kills you every week. You sit down and goes, "Oh my God, did you hear how could you put up the play? Oh my God, it's terrible."
Ariel wouldn't say that because, well, here's Ariel Judas, and I said at the beginning of the broadcast, Ariel, that you're kind of the mystery man because you're quiet. As far as in our interactions as a quartet, Matty Lawrence was featured earlier. We were, gave Matty a chance to talk about his life a little bit, and we're going to do the same with you because we want people to know, who they're listening. I think we've been doing this for so long, and then, what do people really know about us? Do they care? I don't know 100% if they care, but let's tell them, man. Maybe they'll. And Ariel's got some interesting stuff over there. I love his musical taste. I love. I love where a couple of the areas in the world where he's lived. And I suppose we should start off, Ariel, by saying I'm very sorry about Barcelona because in our group text, Ariel was like so happy at the beginning of that game against PSG. And then I didn't see any further texts after.
Yeah.
Ariel.
PSG is a nightmare for European soccer, I believe. Nothing against them. I like the way they play. I like their coach, Luis Enrique. I mean, he was a Barcelona coach and he was fine. The only thing is that PSG has made Barcelona suffer a lot in the recent years, so that's why I don't hate them, but I don't like them.
Well, tell us about how your affection for Barcelona, and as a Catalonian, and then also your time in Argentina. I mean, you've been in two parts of the world that really feature some of the mystique of our game, really.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Argentina. I moved to Barcelona in 2009, and I lived there before that, 2003, and I lived there until 2009. And why we moved to Barcelona? Because my wife is a scientist, a biologist, and she needed to do to study more over there. So we find he had a couple of options. One of them was Barcelona, going to Barcelona. So I agreed. Barcelona is fine.
Did you put your vote in? What were the other options?
The other option was Liverpool. I wouldn't have mind going to Liverpool, but Barcelona is better for me, at least. I mean,
Barcelona is very cool. I love Barcelona.
I've been there 3 or 4 times before living there, so I knew the place. I had family there. My parents and my grandparents all of them are from Barcelona, so it was easy for me to connect with the city and connect to the culture and whatever.
Well, let's go back to Argentina. And again, this is Ariel Judas. He's a Roberto Abramowitz broadcast partner on the Spanish commentary of New York City FC, has been for years. That's on the New York City FC network. And we're giving Ariel a chance to speak here, since when he's on with Roberto, I don't know how often the opportunity arises for you to provide commentary. But anyway,
I've been told that he has to get paid by the word, so I sort of limit it.
Okay, yeah. But Argentina. True. So this is, tell us about your upbringing there, and then how soccer, is in your blood, maybe based on that.
You cannot avoid loving soccer if you are in Argentina, if you live in Argentina. So it's pretty unavoidable. You live soccer all day, every day, the whole week, the whole year. So you just have to pick a team to support. And that was easy for me because I was born like 10 blocks away from Bella Sarsfield Stadium. So there was no option. I had to be a Bella Sarsfield fan. So my father is a Bella Sarsfield fan, and most of my friends at the neighborhood were Bella Sarsfield fans, so that was easy to follow.
Yeah, because it's for someone like me, when I think of if you run into somebody, it's just like if somebody's from Scotland, you go Rangers or Celtic, and then there it's River or Boca, and
actually it's more than that. We used to say in Argentina that we have 5 big teams: Boca, River, Independiente, Racing, San Lorenzo. Maybe Vélez is the 6th one, but they don't like to consider Vélez the 6th one. But
that's all right. Okay. They're your team. Okay. Put them in the 6th. Put them in the top 6.
Yeah. Okay. And that's it. There are many big teams, 6 at least, and those are in Buenos Aires, and then you have the 2 very big teams in Rosario, which are Newell's, Messi's team, and Rosario Central. You have big teams in Córdoba, Talleres, Belgrano. You have a very, very diverse scene in Argentina with many big teams, actually.
So were you seeing a lot of games in person outside of like your club? You're going to games, understood.
Yeah.
But were you seeing many other games in person? Was there television available of these matches, or the radio? Which again, we talked to Maddie about radio in England because games are blacked out on Saturday afternoons, and if you want to listen to your team and you're not at the game, or watch your team, you can't watch them. You got to listen to the radio. What's it like where you were?
when I was growing up, the situation was the same. You only had access to your team or other teams' matches through radio, because television was blocked, and you have to. There were a few options. You have few games available on pay-per-view, and then you have the whole matches on Sunday night. So if your team plays on Friday or Saturday, you can only watch them on Sunday, which is crazy, but that was the way that Argentina was. Yeah. So yeah, radio was big, but was huge for me. What I did between maybe when I was 12 and when I was between 12 and 20, I went to the stadium all the time, every week. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Ariel, did you, when you were growing up and listening to the radio and maybe even on TV, did you have anybody who was like who is now an influence on you as far as how you decide to look at a match and what you decide to say based on what you're seeing and as far as stylistically and things like that? Is there anybody who you're like, wow, this guy was cool, and I'm going to model myself after that?
Not really, but I tend to like. There was a big fracture in Argentina regarding the way you listen to soccer games. You have the old school, and from the '86 World Cup, after that, you can say that there was a modern way of calling games. So I prefer the modern style of calling games. Victor Hugo Morales, Mariano Clos, those are my favorites, and the guys that I follow the most, especially when I was a teenager. I listened to them all the time. Not only his play-by-plays, they also had shows on the radio every day, so I listened to them all the time.
Well, I've always been intrigued that, and everybody should know that, Ariel wakes up in the morning and he's listening to Argentinian, radio, and he'll get on our group text. That's the four of us. Maddie's not here. And, if something happens with Castellanos, whatever it was, we would, we'll get a little scoop from what was reported. I guess it's like any other report though, right? They were just, you couldn't confirm them necessarily.
That's the main difference between Argentina, Spain, Uruguay, because I listen to quite a lot of Uruguayan sports radio, Brazilian. You have information 24 hours a day, all the time.
Yeah.
So it's easy to pick up scoops and what people are talking about and whatever that you don't have here in the US, at least not right now. You don't have 24 hours soccer specific shows all the time, all day.
Well,
everywhere.
there's one place, that's 24/7. It's Sirius XM FC channel 157.
I know.
So that's the only one though.
Imagine that in Buenos Aires, at least there are maybe 3-4 radios that are soccer all the time, all day.
That's
3 or 4. In Barcelona, maybe a couple, and in Brazil, crazy 10, maybe 10 radio stations doing all the time.
Just soccer. Just soccer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not necessarily anything else. But when you look at MLS and you look at New York City, and you start thinking about, everything else that you've seen as you've been growing up, what are your thoughts about what's going on over here?
I'll say what soccer players say. MLS is a league that is evolving, and it's true. I mean, it's true. I mean, I've seen it evolve a lot in the years I've been following it. Every year, you can feel, you can taste that the league is growing and going places. It will take a while to get to the, European level or the best South American leagues, Brazil, Argentina, maybe. It will take a while to get there, but eventually they will get there. You can see. There's no comparison. You cannot. Maybe the best clubs in Brazil are at the same level of comfort they give to their players, and the life they can provide for their players. But that's not the same in Argentina, not even for Boca or River. That's not the same in Colombia. That's not the same in Chile. That's not the same in Uruguay. Maybe Brazil is the only one that can compare a little bit to what's going on here in MLS. So,
and that's big, though, right? I mean, the fact that, they're going to get, I mean, we take these things for granted, but the fact that they're going to get paid every 2 weeks, that's a guarantee. They don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about, if their contract is going to be respected. They don't have to worry about the fact that if they had a bad game, that their car is going to be firebombed or they're going to be protesting outside of his house. It's a very different way of living. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it happens often enough, where, it can be problematic.
Yeah, it's not only the money. The money is important, of course, but for instance, if your club loses a game on Saturday, and you are the goalkeeper or the striker for that club, you cannot be seen on the discotheque that night. You better hide until the next week, because you cannot go. You cannot show yourself on the streets or in a discotheque or a restaurant or whatever. That's the way that soccer is lived over there, and it's the way it is. I mean, maybe that's comparable to what happens in Italy, in Spain, maybe, but I think that the level that people take this stuff in South America is out of the reach of.
I think
other
from what I've
countries.
heard, Italy is the one that's really similar. I haven't heard as much about things happening in stadiums in Spain like I do in Italy or in South America, where it's like, I mean, if you wear anything that might resemble anything from the opposition, and you're probably going to be hurt before the end of the game.
People in Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay are so soccer crazy that they will recognize you. It's not that you're the number 9, the substitute number 9 for Vélez, let's say, and you are out on the street going to the cinema or to the discotheque or whatever. They will recognize you and they will tell, oh, this guy was having a good time and we lost today. So you shouldn't be there.
You mean they would? Are you saying they'd recognize Gabe Siegel? Is that what you're saying?
I can tell you they would do. Yeah, in Argentina they would do. Yeah.
All right. Wow.
I mean, it's not healthy, really. I mean,
Nico Benalcazar? Nico Benalcazar? I'm trying to think of the guys that hardly played.
Everybody.
If your team loses, you better not get out and have fun or be visible to other people having fun. That's what I mean. I mean, people take these things badly and they don't understand. And it's good and it's bad. I mean, it's so crazy. Yeah, it's more than a game. It's more than a game. It's religion. Or it's almost a religious thing. You cannot do that.
Ariel, I want to ask you. You work on the Spanish side in Major League Soccer for MLSsoccer.com.
Yeah,
and we have Lionel Messi, and I know we've talked about how driven that group is to make sure that you track Messi every step of the way. But to what extent on a daily basis is it Messi? And in your opinion, I recognize you work for them, but in your opinion, is something being lost in some of that?
What I can tell you is that metrics went crazy since the moment that Messi landed in Florida. I mean, visits to our side in Spanish went from 10 to 1,000 immediately.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. So it's understandable that MLS and the media that's working around MLS turns to or chooses to turn their attention to Messi, Inter Miami, and all that stuff. It's a huge difference to what we had before. It's night and day.
So, in your opinion, is it good for the league? Is it? Are you neutral about that? Are there some detrimental aspects to the league? What do you think? I mean, on the surface, it seems like, well, if there's more eyes on the league, then there's more eyes on the league.
Look, Ole is right now the only sports newspaper in Argentina, right? And before Messi came here, you never saw anything related to MLS. Never. Maybe once in a while, once in a year, Maxi Morales was champion in 2021. Okay, maybe you had a little bit of that in Ole. Right now is you can see 5 articles related to MLS on Ole every day, and that's crazy. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's not only Messi, right? I mean, it's more than just Messi that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. After Messi came, first it was a Messi explosion, and everything was Messi. Right now is Lucho Acosta, the guys at New York City. You start to find different characters to talk about, but there's Argentina is discovering MLS thanks to Messi. We can say that. I mean, they didn't pay attention at all 3 years ago, and now they are watching games, they're making an opinion about MLS. Many people say it's bad, and some other people starting to say, well, this is not that bad. This league is pretty good. I mean, they have some good teams, some good players, and that's the thing that maybe it's the most important for MLS right now. People that would have never seen MLS are watching right now MLS and finding that, hey, this guy is not that bad.
Are there a lot of subscribers to Apple in
I don't know that.
I mean, how are they watching the games unless they're subscribed to Apple, right?
Yeah. For instance, my brothers I have 2 brothers, and both of them live in Buenos Aires. So they have to subscribe to MLS, to Apple TV, and watch the games over there. So my 2 closest cases that I know, they subscribe to Season Pass, and they're watching their games on Season Pass.
What if you walked into a pub? If Messi's playing, would those games maybe be on, or not sure?
I would say that, for instance, this weekend we have the Boca River, the Clásico.
Yeah.
I doubt that Messi's Miami, Nashville
Messi and then Clásico.
Are they at the same time?
I don't know. No, they are not at the same time, I believe. But maybe, I don't know. But I think that MLS is right now, for the Argentine fan, is an option. I mean, before that, you had, of course, European soccer. You can see all European leagues in Argentina easily. And right now, MLS is another option. Maybe it's not that easy to see MLS games in Argentina because you have to pay MLS Season Pass. But many people does, so it's not that hard. You can always find a friend or go to a bar or whatever.
Or your brothers could just have a party.
Yeah,
and bring the people over. Yeah,
but 3 years ago was
not
impossible to think about it. Yeah.
What, Ariel? I want to ask you a couple things before, outside of soccer, perhaps, just to get to know you again a little bit. I didn't prep you for this question, but is there something maybe that Roberto and I, Maddie, and certainly people who listen to you, is there something that we could know about you that we don't already know, that maybe is it could be interesting? It doesn't have to be interesting, but is there something about you that maybe we don't know? What do you got?
Personal stuff, you mean, or what?
Yeah, Eddie. Yeah, whatever. Something outside of soccer, though. Outside of soccer.
Well, I do collect tiny cars,
There you go.
164, Matchbox, Majorette, and whatever.
Yeah.
It's
got an amazing collection.
Heavy collector, and I spend a lot of money and have a lot of trouble at home with that. But hey, it's my thing. So
yeah, what is it? Matchbox car? I've heard of it.
Yeah,
and Majorette. Yeah.
So what do you have?
Look at his Instagram page. Tell him what the Instagram page is, because it's not under your name.
What's the Instagram?
It's 164 diecast. I always forget.
164 what? Diecast?
Diecast.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
fine.
It'd have to pop up after that. No one else has that handle, I'm sure.
No,
there are a lot of collectors online, but Ariel has got like a ridiculous collection. This I know. He's a huge car fan. He's a huge Formula One fan. But the Matchbox cars, because I've been following his Instagram all the time, is just insane. If he ever shows me a Renault Fuego, I'm going to be really impressed. So I used to have one of those, and I wish it was just a Matchbox car and not a real car.
Wow. So this is but so we have learned something about it. I like that. I like that. And F1 is my daughter got into it based on that show. That show's that Netflix show. I forget what it's called.
Drive to Survive.
Yeah, is like it's really remarkable how the viewership for F1 here in the States, I don't know how tripled, quadrupled. It was something significant. It was crazy. You know?
Yeah. So outside soccer, I like sports in general, but Formula One is my thing. So
wow.
Why?
I'm not confused, but it's like there's 10 teams, like what is it, 8, 9, or 10 teams, and they just race against each other every week, and then it's all based on the engine and how much money you put it. It's really kind of interesting. It almost reminds me of like the Super League, that they've been proposing in football. It's just these 10 billionaires who have cars and they work on them, and they just race every week.
Everybody's a billionaire if you're racing F1. If you own an F1 team, you have to be a super millionaire because it's very expensive stuff. And almost every time the ones that win are the same teams: McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull. Red Bull
right now is winning everything
right now. Yeah. But there's a thing. For instance, if you are an Italian fan, almost all the Italians are Ferrari fans, and they are Ferrari fans as Ferrari was a soccer team. They are tifosi. They go to the circuits and they stay there for 3 days before the race starts, and it's a religious thing as well. I mean.
Wow.
It's a very crazy stuff, and I like that. I'm a Ferrari fan.
The one thing that's really interesting about F1 that we don't see in any other sort of racing is the fact that you have a lead driver and a secondary driver. And if the secondary driver is leading the race, he can be ordered to allow himself to be passed by the lead driver so he can win the race. They literally work as a team. And it's all for the lead driver. And then sometimes secondary driver gets pissed off and it was like, no, I don't want to let him pass. I'm not letting him do that. It's great. And then you hear them speaking on the radio. It's fantastic.
It's happened a lot of times, especially when Schumacher was the number one for Ferrari. He didn't have too many complacent teammates that were not very happy to let him win all the time. There was tension between them.
Didn't one of the drivers switch teams this year too, or am I making that up? Or was there a threat? And that sounds very familiar to soccer too, transferring from Liverpool to Real Madrid or something.
Lewis Hamilton, who's from England, he's been racing for Mercedes forever, all his life. Next year he will go to Ferrari, which is a big
Look
thing.
At that. I got that one. And I even know that guy's name, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a big thing.
Final question. Music. Yeah. We've talked a lot about music. And Roberto and I, our passion for music, how it's impacted our lives. What works for you?
I like music a lot, but there's one artist or group or band or whatever, which is Queen. That's
Queen. All right.
That's the band of my life. I mean, that's the thing. If I had to choose just one thing to listen to every day, every time, all the time, it's Queen.
And how often has your the team you support in Argentina been able to play "We Are the Champions"? I'm just
never. But the only time that Queen went to Argentina, they played at Vélez Sarsfield Stadium.
How about that?
Yeah,
so there you go. That's pretty good. I mean, like I sort of switched. I used to be like the Doors all the time, and I think Depeche Mode has passed it because now that I know that every time that I'm like coming back from a trip and I'm listening to music, it's always Depeche Mode for me.
Roberto, you're being featured the next time we do this. We're not talking about you here.
No, I'm just saying because we all love music. We all have favorite bands. Who's yours?
I'm not saying it now. I'll say it later. Mine is you'll love mine when it comes out. I can't pick just one. Ariel, hang out here because I want to close the show with what I just when this stuff happens, I just love it. Antonio Rudiger during the penalties, Madrid against City, and the other way around. It was at the Etihad, City against Madrid. It goes to penalties, and Kovacic is stepping up to take a penalty for Man City. He was teammates with Rudiger at Chelsea. So this picture, put this picture up, Shane. So there's Rudiger telling his goalkeeper, Lunin, which direction Kovacic's going to take the kick because they were teammates and he had seen him take penalties before. And sure enough, he hit it to that side. The save was made, and Madrid ultimately advances in the Champions League. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a pretty common thing. Recently, Messi let his goalkeeper know where the shoot was going to go. So it's pretty usually if you know the penalty taker, if you know how he plays, you can let
why not
know.
And a lot of guys won't switch. You know, they've got one way they go, and they can't go multiple ways. You know, like one of the reasons this guy Gazdag at Philadelphia is so effective is he can put it left, right, up the middle, high, low. And that's why the keeper does not know where Gazdag is going to put it. And I just use him as an example because he's only 20 for 20 in his MLS career. So there you go.
Yeah.
Although he did miss in League's Cup in one of the shootouts in League Cup, he did miss. Which was like a shocker.
Did he miss or get saved? Do you remember?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
I just know he didn't score, which sort of like what counts for me.
Yeah. And the final thing that I'd like to say is, and we don't have to wax poetic on him too much, but John Sterling, who, if you're a Yankees fan, which I have been since 1964, Sterling wasn't doing the games then, but he's done the game for over 30 years. He announced his retirement, kind of an abrupt thing.
Yeah.
And so I listened to John Sterling when I was at the University of Georgia. He was doing Atlanta Flames games. And then did talk radio for WMCA when they used to be all talk, and they had a sports show, and he hosted that. So that's we're broadcasters. That's a big part of what we do. And when people hang it up, especially a guy like Sterling, and his calls, as John took a lot of crap over the years for how he called a game, but his home run calls, man, are classic.
They are. When he was at 1050, well, no, it was not 1050. It was 570, right?
WMCA.
570 WMCA. I remember calling into his show once to ask him about the Yankees' new third baseman who had just come in from Mexico City, and his name was Severino Sanchez.
Severino, yeah.
Because I used to be a huge fan of Tigres in Mexico.
Wow.
And Severino Sanchez was their best player, and then he got to play for the Yankees. He was an extraordinary defensive third baseman. He could hit the occasional home run here, didn't hit for a very high average, and then eventually got replaced by Greg Nettles.
Well, he barely hit his weight, let's be honest, but he was a wonderful fielding third baseman, very smooth. I remember him vividly. What were you going to say, Ariel?
No, what I heard is that this guy that is retiring, he said, well, it was time. I'm 86. What do you want? I cannot keep on doing this forever. So I'm 86. I'm out. So
I guess you get to a certain age. He really didn't want to travel anymore.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
then,
interesting that Ariel keeps on asking me how old I am.
well, yeah,
Really that's it? Oh God. Oh, all right, yeah, good.
Yeah, he's got that play-by-play in his future. Although we know Ariel did the full broadcast once when you were unable to get there. How about one other guy? I guess I'm just, this is not in my notes, but Vern Lundquist, who I like the Masters. I like golf, but I listen to the Masters pretty faithfully year to year. And he's been the guy at the 16th hole of the Masters forever, but he's the voice of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I saw Jonathan Tannenwald put something out that he was a sideline reporter in the North American Soccer League. I didn't remember that, Roberto. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys that we know when we followed, had a cup of coffee in the NASL. they really did. I mean, also Jim Nance, no longer doing the NCAA, and Ian Eagle took over this year calling the finals. So now he's the lead college basketball broadcaster for CBS.
Well, I was asked yesterday who's my favorite all-time, who's like my idol, or who did I look up to? And there's two: Marv Albert, and that's on the basketball hockey side. But then Martin Tyler. I don't know what you guys think of Martin Tyler, who does the game, but he is. Their pursuit for the equalizer was fierce but fruitless.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, his wordmanship is just unparalleled. He really is. Marv was always my favorite. I've modeled a lot of what I've done based on what he did. And there's a guy in Mexico who was also a legend by the name of Angel Fernandez. And so, my model's a little bit of hybrid of both. I knew Marv. I knew him well because I did the Knicks for a while. And he actually got me a job at Westwood One.
We're going to save that for your feature, Roberto.
We'll talk about it again. Nobody's going to remember, Glenn. Nobody's going to remember.
Ariel, it was very fun to chat with you, and I was glad to share some of your story with everyone. So thank you so much. I'll see both of you very, very shortly. Yes, Roberto?
Well, just let me say something, because I think it's important. It's really a pleasure and an honor to work next to Ariel. And it's easy to work with somebody who you can ask anything that comes off the top of your head without having planned it in advance or told him in advance that we're going to do this. So we can look it up and say, if somebody did this to me, I'd probably kill him. But with him, I can do this. And he will wax poetic on any player in Major League Soccer. It doesn't matter if he's Hispanic, American, Asian, or African, or from whatever. He just knows it. And he knows it off the top of his head. He's not fumbling for notes or anything like this. He's a freaking walking encyclopedia about this league. And his knowledge about the game and the way it works, it's just a freaking honor. It seriously is, to have worked by his side for the past. You're stuck with me for 7 years, Ariel.
Yeah.
This is year number 7 that you're stuck with me. So I'm very, very grateful to John Rojas, who told me, about Ariel. And, he came in as a guest when John was my sidekick for that 1 year before he ran away from me. And Ariel is not run away yet. And I told Ariel, and I said, my first guy ran away and followed his girlfriend to Oakland. Second one ran away, followed his wife to LA. And I said, you're not running. I said, your wife isn't getting a job someplace, is it? She goes, no, he's staying here. And I said, okay, good. Yeah, I was tired of fucking replacing my my color guy.
Ariel's running off to Barcelona again. That's what I heard. And my final thing is I wanted to share this, but the other thing, Ariel, I learned from Ariel, and I also learned words. And while he was watching Barcelona lose to PSG, I don't know if you remember putting this in the chat, but Barcelona fans are known by the nickname patadors, the ones who suffer. And this is before they gave up the lead. And then you said patir means to suffer in Catalan. And they are the ones who suffer. I'm sorry you had to suffer through that. And I hope this wasn't suffering for you through this, Ariel, but thank you so much for being with us.
No. Barcelona fans are used to suffer a lot. They have very wonderful years in the last 15 years, but before that they suffer a lot. So they're used to it, and they will come back to having good seasons, good time, the good players. Yeah,
I think I'm a member of the greatest patadors in supporters, and that is a fan of the New York Jets. That is a patador.
Yeah, it really is.
There are no greater patadors than those of us who support.
It used to be the Cubs. It used to be the Red Sox, but they've won in this century. The Jets haven't won since '69.
All right, we're all going to be on at 7:15 with our pregame show coming up. That's Eastern time, coming up this Saturday as New York City plays host to DC United. That's time for the pregame. Kickoff is at 7:40. It'll be Roberto and Ariel at 6 p.m. with our NYCFC preview live or pregame live. So they do a live stream at 6, and then Matty Lawrence and I will do one at 6:45. Then the 7:15 preview. I'm telling you, from 6 o'clock until like 10, it should just be Spanish and English on your commentary side with your hometown guys. But guys, thank you so much. So for Ariel, Roberto, I'm Glenn. Thanks to Shane, our producer, on NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.